For as much talk as there is about approving COVID-19 vaccines, there is just as much talk about storing and delivering those vaccines. Fox's Tom Ziska reports on one industry that may play an important part.
These are called pellets. They're about the size of your thumb. Again, this is 109 degrees below zero.
Dry ice is frozen carbon dioxide. It's got a lot of uses keeping things cold, but it's about to become very, very popular.
It's really making the supply and demand that much more tight.
Houston ice distributor Paul Carpenter says he's heard some talk about spiking demand for dry ice at a time when the industry is working to rebuild from regional shortages. But in a statement, the Compressed Gas Association says in part, the current production capacity for carbon dioxide and dry ice is expected to be sufficient to meet anticipated demand from vaccine manufacturers. Dry ice is perfect for the task of transporting the vaccine. With its extreme cooling power, it also evaporates when it melts, leaving no mess. The plan is to transport doses in insulated boxes similar to these, with a layer of ice, several flat boxes of vaccine, and more dry ice.
It'll help keep that vaccine cold for 48, 72 hours, depending on how much dry ice you keep in there.
And basically, this is to protect it from one super deep freeze transported to the next super deep freeze.
Yes, sir, exactly.
Business slowdowns have already put stress on the ice industry, and having part of the product line diverted to a national cause could have a cost as well. But Paul Carpenter sees it as an investment that he hopes will pay off with some normalcy when this is finally all over.
But with something this, earth-shattering for every single person in the world, I'm sure all the demands will be met.